The other morning, I woke up and I started thinking about this really cool old game that I used to play on Xbox when I was like 10, and it had this great Mapmaker, but I couldn't remember what the game was called, so I went to the kitchen, made myself some breakfast, and then I remember, I'm like, oh yeah, TimeSplitters 2. I really would, I would play that again, but I don't have it anymore because in my old Xbox broke. So I go to Target, and they don't have TimeSplitters 2 at Target.
They didn't even have TimeSplitters 2.
So I went home, ordered it on GameCube, waited for it to show up. I played it for a little bit, and I'm like, dang, this game's really good. I should make a video about it. So I wrote a script on my phone. It's not very good. I write another one and it's less bad. So I do some vocal warm-ups, I do a little dance, get the blood flowing, set up my green screen.
Here we are. Come one, come all into my menagerie of useless information and step right into a segment I like to call Ross Talks About a Game That Is 18 Years Old. The early 1990s were a transitionary period for Nintendo's third-party developers. The juggernaut known as the Nintendo Entertainment System, or more commonly referred to as the NES, was finally brought to its knees after a 10-year reign. 1990, enter the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which had considerably more processing power and also heat vision. That's why you had so many more classic games on the SNES compared to the NES, which had Super Mario Bros. 3, which is a game that was announced in a family movie starring young Fred Savage about a kid who enters an arcade game competition, if that tells you how fucking weird Nintendo used to be. During this transition period for gaming hardware, a game development company known as Rare decided to invest in 3D modeling, meaning the characters went from this to, hey, what the fuck, I'm scared now. Unfortunately, the SNES was not powerful enough to render these graphics on its own, so Rare's team used a process called advanced computer modeling to do a thing I don't understand, to create a 3D boxing demo to showcase for Nintendo. And then Nintendo was like, this 3D thing seems pretty cool, it's probably not gonna become a gimmick at all, I'll buy half your company. Well, maybe just make that 49%. Making Rare a second-party developer for Nintendo. This gave them license to create games like Star Fox or Donkey Kong Country, which became their most popular game on the NES, which is a game about monkeys. What are you talking about? This is so unrealistic. People will buy anything, especially 9 million copies of Donkey Kong Country. Following their great success on the SNES, Rare was ramping up to work with Nintendo on their next console, the N64. And their first project was a James Bond-themed first-person shooter called Goldeneye 007, whose production was a total shit show. The team assigned to this project consisted of one programmer, a background artist, and a character designer, all of whom were massively inexperienced. They also faced the crippling and unfair limitation of creating a first-person shooter for the N64, whose controller they didn't know what would look like. Holy Christ. They didn't even know the Nintendo 64 specs until about a year and a half into production of Goldeneye, at which point Nintendo told them it would be about 75% less powerful than they anticipated. So the team was rightfully expanded from 3 to 11 people, including a level and AI designer, David Doak, as well as a second programmer, Steve Ellis. And we'll get back to these good boys later on in the video. And so the rest of production of Goldeneye went pretty smoothly. Psych, it was still fucking wild. For example, since the Nintendo 64 was not as powerful as they thought it was going to be, one of the ways that Rare's team saved on processing power was by designing the game in grayscale and adding color at the end. What the fuck? To create realistic death animations, one of Rare's team members actually stood in the motion capture chamber and closed his eyes and let other team members shove him over when he didn't expect it so that they could get realistic death animations. As a matter of fact, Rare was stuck in development hell for so long that Nintendo sent a letter to Martin Hollis, the director of the game, asking him to cancel the entire project, and he promptly hid the letter from his entire team until the game was shipped. About 6 months before it was officially finished, the team at Rare was looking at a pretty fun, albeit sloppy, single-player first-person shooter. But Steve Ellis, the second programmer who came on board when it became such a shit show, said, "Hold my beer," and went into a back room at Rare and took 6 weeks to single-handedly code the entire multiplayer feature of the game, which became the most renowned part. But why was this so important? I'm going to tell you. If you stop being impatient. Before this, the first-person shooter was a PC-dominant genre, with games like Doom and Wolfenstein paving the way. But Goldeneye proved that it was possible to have fun shooting your friends from the very same couch. So at the end of Goldeneye's development, this is my favorite part, the game director showed the project to Shigeru Miyamoto, you know, father of gaming, Shigeru Miyamoto and said, "What do you think?" And Shigeru Miyamoto suggested that he should take the protagonist and all of the enemies that you kill throughout the game and somehow have them all meet in the same room at the end and shake hands. Despite all the drama and crunch, the game was a critical and commercial success, outselling Ocarina of Time the year after its release and becoming the most popular N64 game in North America. Rare went on to produce another shooter for the N64 called Perfect Dark and later partnered with Microsoft to create the Conquer series. But GoldenEye remains today one of Rare's crowning achievements. But all good things must come to an end, including the 90s, because that is how the passage of time works. In 1997, the band broke up, and many employees left Rare to form offshoot game development companies. The first was Eighth Wonder, and it's a wonder why they're on my list because these guys didn't make any dang games. The second was Tsunami, who continued to work with Nintendo. But there was a third. Remember Dave Doak and Steve Ellis from Goldeneye? 2 years after its release, they left Rare to form a company called Free Radical Design, and in the 2000s, they created 5 games before they were bought by Crytek. The first was TimeSplitters, aka TimeSplitters 1, but I didn't own a PS2 because I was 3, so I didn't play that game. 2 years later, they gave birth to a beautiful baby sequel. I'm kidding, they didn't give birth to it, they typed it on a computer. Don't be weird. Get off. My oldest brother bought this game when he was a teen, and as you can see by the ESRB rating, it was a match made in heaven. I played the game when I was 10, but hold on, don't kill me, Gumberman. Hold on, just give me a second, sit right there, I'll tell you how I became the king of bad content. So there I was, fresh out of 4th grade graduation, working on my multiplication tables. Still don't know those guys. Most of my time was spent either reviewing Flash games on my dad's camera or literally reading Sunday fucking comics. Life was good. So one day, my older brother came into my room and he said, hey fuckhead, you know how you talk to your little brother? And I was like, what? And he was like, we're gonna play a good game. So I put down Rocket Power Beach Bandits and he showed me a masterpiece. The plot of this game is nothing earth-shattering, even though the antagonists do want to shatter Earth though. The gist is that aliens are trying to destroy the human race by using Chaos Emeralds to change the past. I'm kidding, they're called time crystals. The Chaos Emeralds are in Call of Duty. The time-traveling levels in this game most closely resemble the plot of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, except instead of going back to save people from history, they just went forward and got Master Chief, and then raced to Witch Mountain with Vin Diesel. Was Vin Diesel in Race to Witch Mountain? Vin Diesel wasn't in Race to Witch Mountain. Now, my brothers and I only had access to TimeSplitters 2 for a few years before the old Battlefront 2 machine busted. But where there's a will, there's a way. Because I managed to find a copy on GameCube to play it again. The first thing I noticed playing it again after 10 years was, wow, I'm bad at shooters. But the second thing I noticed was, Free Radical's kind of bad at making shooters. So, bad aim control in GoldenEye was excusable, because the N64 controller was basically a scrapped prop from Spy Kids 3D. TimeSplitters 2 was an entire generation later, and the controls were somehow just still smelly. They're smelly. Why do these controls smell? What the fuck? But the second thing I noticed was, holy shit, this game has a lot of content. Now, I'm not even going to get into the 21 additional challenge stages or 45 discrete arcade missions, one of which involves running from Inferno chimpanzees. Forget about 16-player system link, which let everybody bring their Xbox to the church lock-in and have a good old time. And don't even talk to me about the campy-ass roster of 126 playable characters, including this bear. It's like Fortnite, but I want to die. Because the peak feature of TimeSplitters 2, its magnum opus, was its Mapmaker mode. Holy shit. But why was this feature so sweet? I'm not telling you. Fine, at the absolute ass-crack dawn of the 21st century, developers at Free Radical Design all sat in the room and they said, hey, would it be cool if we made a thing in the game that let you make your own thing? Yes, of course it would be fucking cool, idiot. Was Free Radical Design the first developer to put a level editor in a video game? No. But the way they did it was special, for a couple of reasons. Because TimeSplitters 2 is so robust and full of quirky, stupid characters and multiplayer modes, you could design the simplest level and the ways that you could play it would still be endless. Alright boys, we're going shoddy sniper, team deathmatch, no vampires, regen, knives out, shoddy snipers only on team blue, teleporters ready. The second reason that TimeSplitters Mapmaker was so important was its simple yet high amount of content. You had over a dozen different tiles to choose from to place on a blueprint style editor, all of which represented different types of rooms which you could connect to make a potentially huge map. Also, this thing looks like Digimon looks in my head. Like Digimon the universe. Like, I've never I've never watched Digimon, but this looks like Digimon. Connecting these rooms, you can build a potentially massive level that you can litter with whatever enemies, spawn points, power-ups, and other items that you want. But be careful because there's a memory meter on the map, so you can only put in so much and you do have to be choosy. Aesthetically, you can choose whatever theme for the map that you want. You can give it an alien skin or a Victorian or industrial skin. You can also choose the music that plays in the track, which is very underrated. Super Smash Bros. Brawl did this and I appreciated it greatly. TimeSplitters 2 even lets you choose music from the first game. To be fair, it's all bad, but I appreciate it because they tried. When I was 10, I would spend hours just modifying the lighting effects of each room in my map to give my child brain seizures. And on top of all of this, you can create your own enemy bots, which you can give behaviors like spawn and patrol or wait to guard customizable objectives that you can put in your level and give to your friends to play in a chain of levels that you create, essentially making your own TimeSplitters story mode. What? For a console shooter this early that was still helping to build the genre, it's a travesty that this map-making feature didn't really catch on. Yes, you had some other great level editors in shooters such as Halo Forge, but this trend didn't really catch on. I can't name that many. Many creative stage building games have come out since 2002, but the most popular today is Mario Maker. The attention that Mario Maker has gained has lent tremendously to the creative strength of the gaming community. And I just think that TimeSplitters 2 deserves a little bit more credit for the work that it did innovating the stage building feature in modern gaming. That's all I'm saying. But maybe there is still hope for a TimeSplitters 2 resurgence. When I was 10, I didn't understand all the features in the TimeSplitters 2 Mapmaker. I didn't even know until I picked it up again this year that you could mess with the game objectives or enemy bot behaviors. So after playing again, I realized I am not the preteen I used to be. Surprisingly. Just as I have grown, the game has grown with me, and I must now approach it differently. If I can somehow master these features, pushing the TimeSplitters 2 Mapmaker to its peak performance by optimizing its memory capacity and the scope of its content, I can create a TimeSplitters 2 map so powerful, I will put TimeSplitters 2 back on the map and get it a remake just like Final Fantasy VII. It's gonna be just like Final Fantasy VII. All I have to do is create the perfect TimeSplitters 2 map.
I was so caught up in trying to master the greatest map maker in video game history that I lost the map to my own heart. In the end, I had to say goodbye to TimeSplitters 2 and go back to the Stone Ages. I still think about that game sometimes, since I threw it away 40 minutes ago, but I know we're both in a better place now. I guess the real map was the friends we made along the way.
Do you guys have TimeSplitters 2? It's like a first-person shooter. It was on Xbox, PlayStation. It was sort of the peak of couch co-op. Talking about TimeSplitters 2, baby. You don't look like you play TimeSplitters 2. Oh, that's not TimeSplitters. Garbage. Did they make TimeSplitters on 3DS? You boys seen TimeSplitters? Now you look like a guy that knows where TimeSplitters 2's at.